Oh hey guys, and welcome to another video, and welcome to my first wrap-up video of 2017. So for the year of 2017, I have decided to do my wrap-up videos a little bit differently. I have decided to take away the monthly wrap-ups and instead simply do a wrap-up after every 4 books that I've read. So for instance, this video will be about the first 4 books I read this year, and then the next would be about books 5 to 8, and so on. I've seen a couple of booktubers doing their wrap-ups this way recently, and I just feel the format is more appealing to me, especially if you read a lot of books in 1 month, because I do like to keep my videos pretty short. So yes, I've probably wasted enough of your time explaining something that you could have probably guessed from the title alone, so I guess I will just get straight into the books. The first book I chose to start off the year was Real World by Natsuo Kirino. This is a thriller type novel and deals with 4 girls who all sort of interact with a boy from their class after it's discovered that he has killed his mother and is now on the run. This is a bit of a strange novel because it focuses very little on the actual crime itself. We do get 1 chapter from the boy's perspective as he goes about the task of killing his mother, which is particularly gruesome. But overall, it more deals with the girl characters and their reaction, or sort of lack thereof, to the crime. It's mentioned very early on about the societal pressures and the pressures from their parents that these girls receive, and I believe that the author is using this novel as sort of a very extreme example of these girls reacting to those pressures and to their parents, because they really do not react in a way that normal people would. It turns out that these girls know where this boy is and are able to interact with him via text or meeting up with him, but there is no talk of them calling the police, even when they believe that one of the girls is abducted by him. Overall, I found it a very enjoyable thriller with sort of a disaffected youth vibe. The characters are definitely more archetypes as opposed to realistic characters, but again, like I say, I feel like that was the author's intention with this one. Overall, I gave this 3.5 stars, and I will definitely check out more from the author in the future. In fact, I already own Grotesque by her, so maybe I will read that one very soon. The second book I picked up in 2017 was Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. This is obviously a novel very easily summed up by its title. It basically concerns a girls' boarding school who go for a little field trip one day to Hanging Rock, and 4 of the girls wander off and never return. After this happens, we basically follow the other inhabitants of the school, including the headmistress, as she has to inform the girls' parents of them going missing, and sort of the little mystery involving where they went. Overall, while I enjoyed this novel, I found it a really hard one to actually recommend because not a lot actually happens. It's basically a case of the girls go missing, people try to find them by wandering in the woods, and then that's pretty much it. And it's really sort of a novel that has no real resolution to the story. At the end of the novel, the characters we have been following really don't know anything more than they did at the very start. So while I did enjoy it and I wanted to know more about the story, it was sort of frustrating because you don't actually find out anything about it. And that is sort of why I have trouble recommending this one. It is a short book, it's about 200 pages, and I did read it relatively quickly, so in the end I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I do find it a hard one to recommend. I have, however, decided to watch the movie because I know it's a seminal Australian classic, and I do feel like the story would possibly work better in that medium. Then the third novel I picked up in 2017 was The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis. This book is actually probably my favourite of the books that I'm going to mention in this wrap-up. This one deals with a character called Anne, who is a bit of a morbid child. She likes to collect dead mice and people's hair. She is a bit of a strange one. But at the beginning of the story, she is sort of starting to develop an obsession with the butcher's boy, who brings her family their meat. But while this is happening, Anne's father is also trying to set her up with a potential marriage, and the guy he chooses is less than suitable in Anne's eyes. So the rest of the novel sort of deals with Anne trying to get out of this marriage and the sort of extreme measures that she takes to get out of it. The main reason I enjoyed this novel was because of the main character of Anne, because Anne's character really can be viewed in a sympathetic light at the start. Like, she has 2 sides to her character. There's one we sympathise with, and then there is one that is just plain sociopathic. On the one hand, we sympathise with her because of the idiot that her father is trying to set her up with, but come the end, when she starts taking hammers to people's knuckles, we start to wonder whether we really should sympathise with her or not. This book definitely does have some pacing issues towards the middle, but the last third especially is really entertaining, and it sort of becomes this weird, dark comedy where Anne is going on this killing spree, and she sort of becomes this sort of wisecracking heroine who's throwing kids off towers. I know it doesn't sound funny, but it sort of is. It really balances that line extremely well, and I sort of found myself being mildly horrified while also chuckling a little bit to myself. Overall, this is a novel that definitely surprised me. I had almost no expectations going in, apart from what I'd heard about it on BookTube, but I really enjoyed it, and I will definitely keep an eye out for more from the author in the future. Then the fourth book I read in 2017 is actually a new release, and that is Little Deaths by Emma Flint. This novel basically deals with our main character of Ruth, who one day wakes up from an alcohol-induced slumber to find that both her children have been taken in the night while she was sleeping in the other room. And we follow the story from the time the children were taken to them turning up murdered, and how the police sort of start to question Ruth and believe her to be the main suspect in the case. The reason they start to suspect Ruth is because she doesn't really react in the way they believe a grieving mother should act. She's sort of a bit defiant. She goes out and gets drunk a lot, and she goes to clubs to pick up men, and that is the way that we, the audience, are told she is dealing with her grief. Overall, while I think this is a really interesting story, I will admit that I did not like it as much as I thought I would. It's definitely a page-turner, and it's definitely a very easy read. I think I read it in 2 sittings, because you really do want to know who killed these kids and what the central mystery is. But I felt that the author really shot herself in the foot by not having the mother as the main character and the main perspective of the story. The author really wants you to sort of go back and forth on whether you actually believe that Ruth killed her children. And because of this, the author's decided that we really can't spend too much time inside Ruth's head, in case we learn too much. So instead, the main perspective of this novel follows a reporter who's working on the case, and I was just left wondering why. Because his perspective just really isn't that interesting, and neither is it more potentially dramatic than if it was coming from Ruth's perspective. There's also a bit of a romance subplot that is very blah. The reporter starts falling for Ruth because it's said that she's alluring, and it's basically described to say that she has this sort of power over men, and men become sort of enraptured by her. The author also gives no examples of why this is. It's just sort of explained in that Ruth is alluring because. And in a way I felt that was a bit lazy and a bit unnecessary, because it's really not the most interesting part of the story. Overall, I really felt like the elements were here for a good story, and in a way, because this is a page-turner, I can see people enjoying this book. I don't think people would be too disappointed in picking it up, but for me, the way the author sort of presented the story really took down the rating for me, and in the end I ended up giving this one 2 stars. So there you have it. That is the end of my first 2017 wrap-up in this new system. As always, if you have read any of these books, leave me some comments below, and also leave me some comments if you like this new system. I personally prefer it, and I like the idea of having a playlist of all the books that I've read and all the little mini reviews that I've done of 2017. But anyway, that is going to be all from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you soon with another one. Bye!